Hi YouTubers, thanks for stopping by. I wanted to take a second today and talk about the demise of Guitar Player magazine. This magazine has been so instrumental in my life that I kind of wanted to offer a eulogy to how it's affected me and see if any of you folks have the same experience that I had, or maybe not. I don't know, maybe no one will watch this video, maybe no one cares about magazines. But I just want to take a second and talk about it. If you get a chance, you can help this channel grow by subscribing, liking, commenting, all of that sort of thing to help me grow. I would really appreciate any help you can offer. So a couple weeks ago, I got an email saying that Guitar Player magazine was done in its print version and they were going to go to an online version, switching to their website or whatever, and then my remaining subscription, be rolled over to Guitar World. And I'll tell you, I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed. This magazine has been so important to my musical growth over the years that it was just kind of like an end of an era. And I get it, okay? I mean, I might be the only one that cares about magazines anymore. You know, I mean, I like to read books that I can hold in my hand. I like to read magazines that I can hold in my hand. I don't want to look at them on a website. So even if the magazine continues on a website, I'm probably not going to be a player in that. I've tried to read like Premier Guitar and stuff online, and I just don't have the patience for it. I like to hold something tangible. But it wasn't exactly like, you know, the writing wasn't on the wall. I don't know if you can see this, how thin this magazine has gotten. But this magazine used to be amazing. And I still, even within the past year, I've heard about a lot of players I would have never come across if they weren't in this magazine. But I want to tell you a little bit of my history with it. I was a subscriber for probably 43 years, roughly. I started getting this magazine right when I got serious about playing guitar. So I started playing guitar when I was 9 or 10, and I got really serious with guitar lessons and that sort of thing when I was 12, and pretty much instantly, somehow, I knew there was this magazine, and I subscribed to this magazine, and I started getting it. It was just amazing. So many artists I learned about from this magazine. It was just unbelievable. Every month it would come, I couldn't wait for it to come because I would see who was on the cover, who was in it. I didn't know who any of these people were. So they were all new to me. And it was just absolutely amazing. But jumping back a little bit, so this past week, the final edition of this magazine came, right here. And ironically, when you open it up, the first thing that falls out is subscribe today and get a gift for free, which is funny. I mean, on the last issue, you get a subscribe card in there. But it was just so nostalgic for me to get this final edition of this magazine that I'm just kind of disappointed. Hopefully, I'll like Guitar World. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. I've never seen the magazine, so hopefully it's good. But back in the day, I started getting this magazine, and every month was so exciting to see what was in it, who the artists were on the cover, and who they covered on the articles on the inside. And back in the day, you know, these were journalists who were covering these artists, so they asked great questions that were well written, and there was, you know, multiple pages of who their influences were and the gear that they used and all of this sort of thing. And I learned so much about these players. And one of the most important things was that every month, one of these sound pages came in here. I don't know if you can see it. They call it a flexi disc or something like that. This particular one is two-sided. But this disc I'm holding right in my hands completely changed my life. There was a magazine cover, and it had Eric Johnson on the cover, and it said, who is Eric Johnson and why is he on our cover, or something to that effect. And in the magazine was this sound page of Eric Johnson playing. The back, just for reference, is Steve Morse demonstrating a couple of JBL speakers. But I took this out and I put it on my record player. I used to have to stack up pennies on them so that the needle wouldn't just drag this around. But this Cliffs of Dover version is from Austin City Limits, 1985. And I heard this play, and I still can remember myself standing there looking at my stereo speakers going, I've never heard anything like this in my life. And that's really what got me excited about guitar. I loved the way he used clean sounds and distorted sounds. It wasn't all like 80s metal shredder kind of stuff. I just loved the whole sound of it and being able to hear it on the sound page. It's amazing that this still plays because I played it so many times. Just listening to the sounds he was getting out of a guitar, it just completely blew my mind. So that was a life-changing moment for me, and that's one of the things that really got me focused in playing and excited about all of this stuff and lessons and learning and continuing to improve and so forth. And it's still what I use to this day to get excited. But there's a difference. A lot of times folks will say, well, you know, who cares? There's podcasts and all this stuff. I think people are way more guarded now. There's so many podcasts, and many of them are some knucklehead in their basement, you know, not unlike me, that are doing these interviews with people asking the same stupid questions over and over and over again. There's not a lot of people really, you know, offering cutting-edge information to these artists that we're learning new stuff about them. But back in the day in these magazines, there was just tons of information about who the influence of these players were. So if I heard a player that I liked, you know, I could name players. I could name Mike Stern, Robin Ford, Eric Johnson, all of these, John Schofield. All of these people I kind of learned about from Guitar Player magazine, Wes Montgomery, Jerry Reed. And if people would reference them as being an influence, I would go and buy the cassette tape of whatever their greatest hits was or whatever, so I could hear what it was all about. Sometimes I liked it, sometimes I didn't. It didn't matter. But it was all an educational exploration for me to kind of hear what these people took from the people they were calling influences. And it was just an amazing education for me in these magazines. And to be honest with you, there's always lessons in the back. I don't know that I ever did a lesson out of these magazines. I probably should have. Maybe I'd be a better player. But I don't think I ever sat down and actually did a lesson that was in the back of the magazine. I just kind of read the articles. And if you have the ability, look up, I think his name's Jazz Albrecht, if I'm saying that correct. I don't know if I am or not. But he was an editor for Guitar Player magazine and did many interviews. And somewhere on the web, he's taking the original recordings from the interviews and reposting them. And you can just tell how well these interviews were done back in the day by these people whose career were, you know, journalists, so to speak. They knew how to write well, they knew how to interview well, they knew how to do all this stuff that many folks don't know how to do now, even the ones that call themselves journalists. So it was just such an amazing journey for me. So I'm offering this as kind of a eulogy, just to kind of say how this magazine affected my musical life in such a positive way, and how it's kind of sad to be holding the final edition of this in my hands. And I wish them all the best. I hope they have, you know, whatever they do online is amazing, and they maybe do cool stuff, and maybe it'll get my interest. But history has proven probably not. So, I don't know. I just wanted to get on and kind of share that. What's you guys' thoughts? Were you guys ever into these magazines? Did you ever get anything from them? I remember back in the day there was tons of them. Guitar for the Practicing Musician, and I think there was Guitar World, Premier Guitar. There was tons of them. But a lot of them were kind of geared towards metal players. And I'm not a metal player. Not that I don't like some of that music, I do, but that's not my main focus. I'm all over the board. I like country players, I like Americana, I like folk, I like metal, I like jazz, I like rock. I like it all. And this magazine kind of had a nice potpourri of those kind of players in it that I really found interesting, and it wasn't one-sided. And, you know, I learned about so many players. Even within the past year, I think I learned about Mario Mancuso from this magazine, that I would have never come across him otherwise if it wasn't in the magazine. He's just a brilliant player. So it's just, you know, it's a sad moment. All things must change, right? And that's part of getting older. But what's your thoughts on this? Did you ever have any magazines that affected you, or anything that kind of affected you in this way? Were you a Guitar Player magazine subscriber? Do you even care about magazines? Is that even something on your radar now? Or not? I don't know. What do you guys think? If you can post it in the comments below, maybe we can get a discussion going and see if any of this matters to you folks or not. And I understand if it doesn't. You know, obviously, there's not a lot of people into magazines anymore, at least this one, or this would still be going strong. It wouldn't be going out of business. So, I'd love to hear your comments, and maybe we can talk through it and see what kind of conversation we can get started. So hopefully this starts an interesting discussion, and I appreciate your time and watching this, and you have a fantastic day.